Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fortress of Solitude. Today we're going to be talking about Superman Unlimited issue 7, written by Dan Slott and Jeremy Adams, with art by Lucas Mayer, colors by Marcelo Maiolo, and letters by Dave Sharp. Superman helps out at Steelworks this issue as John finds himself testing John Henry's newest invention, the Inertron gauntlets, a device which renders kryptonite inert when he punches it. The gauntlets work without problems, but John gets hit by one of the kryptonite missiles because he got distracted by one of the holographic civilians, which look mighty similar to his ex-boyfriend Jay Nakamura. John, being the more tech-focused Superman and the one who helps out with Steelworks, is such a good angle for him. I don't know why it didn't happen any sooner. It fits him so well that he would want to, help out these people that his father knew, and his father helped out a while. And then there's moving Steelworks into Smallville. It gives him a chance to explore his roots in the town and be around people who have been around his parents for decades. John Henry and Lana Lang end their tests so they can process the data about what happened, but John assures them that the gauntlets work perfectly, only wishing that they could make him immune to thinking about his ex. John takes the rest of the day off, heading out into Smallville, which thanks to Steelworks has seen a bit of an upgrade since the big storm of the century tornado blew through the town a couple of months back. I'm glad we're finally checking in on present day Smallville. We've been seeing it a lot over in Mark Waid's Action Comics books, which are set in the past, but we haven't seen present day for a while, not since the Summer of Superman special where the big storm blew through and that sort of set off everything for DCKO and the last couple of Superman books. So I'm glad we're seeing it sort of be better now. It's like being fixed up. Steelworks is there helping out, making it like an actual proper city. It's really quite cool to see that there's like an evolution happening with Smallville of all places. On his way home, John stops to talk to Mr. Reynolds, a local farmer who needs help finding his lost cow. Mr. Reynolds shows John that even though his tablet, which Steelworks provided him with, still detects her signal, the cow has dropped off the face of the earth and he can't find it anywhere. John promises to keep an eye out for it with his X-ray vision and infrared vision, heading back into town, quickly changing to go and meet for lunch with Ma and Pa Kent. Unfortunately, Ma and Pa can't join him for lunch, instead giving John a box from his mother Lois, telling him to open it as soon as he can. Opening the box, John finds it contains a holographic message from Lois, who wants to talk to him about something important. The hologram takes John further into town and introduces him to the Daily Planet's Smallville office, a tiny little building at the center of town. This is where Lois drops a pretty big bombshell on John as she tells him that he is going to be running the small office all by himself. She reveals that the other things in the box are for John as well, with it being a press pass and a pair of glasses. John doesn't like this since he's not cut out for being a reporter, but Lois sits with him, telling him that her and Clark know that he's been through a lot lately, and he's thrown himself into becoming a superhero full time, but that is no life for a young man to lead, since there is still so much more to him, and more that he can give to the world, and this will give him an opportunity to build out his own community and to be himself. Along with helping Steelworks, John getting to be a reporter is something I've wanted for him for a very long while. I've always liked the idea that, yeah, he gets to be a superhero, but I would like to see him follow more in Lois's footsteps a little bit more and become more of a reporter than a full-time hero. And I'm glad that Dan Slott seems to have that in mind for John as well. Lois gets John to try on the glasses, reminding him that alter egos are fun, and for his first challenge at the Daily Planet, he must find a story and write it up, all without using his powers. Lois signs off as Clark arrives in the room, worried that Lois is working too hard at overseeing the Daily Planet and checking in on their son. But Lois reminds her husband that she can multitask just as well as Clark, something we have seen time and time again to be very true. Lois even reveals to Clark that amongst all her jobs as editor-in-chief, she's also found her own story, which will see her head into space next week, which I think is a little tease for issue 8 or some upcoming issue. The next morning in Smallville, John is woken by the rooster, but also some strange scratching noise his super hearing seems to be picking up. As he goes down for breakfast, he hears Ma talk about Mr. O'Brien and how they've not heard from him in weeks, and something must have happened to him while digging his well. But Pa thinks he's just avoiding them after borrowing the auger and he didn't bring it back. John is still looking for inspiration to write his first story, and Martha says that he should write about something he knows about. John tries to cheat a little bit in his assignment, using his powers to go and scan the city and find something, but Ma demands he stop, since Lois told her about their deal, and John's not allowed to use his powers. John relents and decides to go chase a story in town, being allowed to borrow Pa's truck since he can not use his powers. This is kind of like a nice little country thing I saw here, where Pa just gives John the keys to the truck. He doesn't have a license or anything, but it's he's in Smallville, it's back roads, it's still dirt roads, it's fine, kids around here drive all the time. And I like his reasoning as well. It's I had you on my lap when you were 5 years old and when I was driving, so it's, you practically know how to drive already. It feels like a very small town country thing, and I quite like that little bit of a detail. John heads to Steelworks since that's where he's been working for the last few weeks, so what better place to find a story? Right off the bat, we get to see his new glasses in action as Lana tells Paco, one of the scientists who also has a crush on Superman, to give John a tour of the facility. Paco knows who Superman is, but doesn't even recognize John in the glasses, thinking that he's just some stupid local reporter. I love John Henry even doesn't know how anyone is fooled with these glasses. He can't wrap his head around it. He can't figure out the physics or the science behind it, but it just somehow works. I really like that. It's kind of cool. They just kind of wave it away. It's the glasses just work somehow. Paco takes John through the facility, explaining to him that they work on many things in Steelworks, from efficient solar panels to a breed of corn with no natural predators, and even equipment that studies geothermal energy under the city. During the trip, John notices there's no employees, and Paco waves it away as Steelworks being mostly autonomous, and with the workers allowed to set their own schedule, so he's not really noticed anything out of the ordinary. John, however, can smell something is out of the ordinary, which to me really doesn't make much sense, since he's been working at Steelworks for weeks, so how has he not noticed any of this? Sure, he would have been focused on his tests with John and Lana, but surely he would have seen something is amiss in his weeks-long stay in Steelworks. Just feels a little ham-fisted way to get him to dig up the story and for him to find that, connect the plot A, the Steelworks stuff, to plot B, the Daily Planet stuff. Later in the Daily Planet office, John has concluded that the Steelworks employees and Mr. Reynolds' missing cow are connected. He's just not exactly sure how. See, now this is the stuff I hoped John would be doing, the sort of journalist tracking down a story, using the best parts of his parents to make decisions about his choices and his job and everything. I quite like that he's going into it, he's trying to piece together a story. I just hope that this time it can stick for longer than an issue, since people have been trying to stick John with oh, he'll be this or he'll be that, and it's never really stuck around. And maybe that's kind of the running joke, nothing really sticks to him, but I don't know, I just feel like he needs that as Lois said, that other half, that he can't be a full-time hero all the time. John keeps researching and realizes that something is off, so he speeds off to Mr. O'Brien's place, remembering how the man seemingly disappeared while digging a well. Superman uses his powers to blast through the ground where he was digging the well and begins hearing the scratching sound again, this time getting louder. He digs deeper and deeper and soon comes across Mr. Reynolds' cow, along with various other tools, clothes, and knickknacks, all from the missing farmers and Steelworks workers. Before he can figure out what is really going on there, John is ambushed by a giant robotic mole-like mecha creature that breaks through the tunnel, attacking Superman and blasting up through the surface of Smallville's main street. This is a pretty neat threat for John to deal with, a giant mechanical mole rat monster thing. It's definitely a unique design, and it's also one that's kind of a rite of passage for a Superman. They've got to fight the giant mechanical monster at some point. As the mecha mole gets the better of John, Steel and Superwoman arrive to lend a hand, or a hammer. As Steel and Superwoman battle the robot, John scans it with his X-ray vision, hoping to find its weakness, but instead he finds it's actually a robot that's being piloted by several small green people. Superman quickly calls out to the robot and the pilots inside, knowing that they were attacking because Steelworks accidentally tunneled into their home with their geothermic tests. He apologizes, and in a really nice twist, the little green men actually accept the apology and are happy to talk with the heroes about the surface world. So these little guys are kind of cool because they're ripped right from the 50s Superman movie, Superman vs. the Mole Men, starring George Reeves. They look exactly the same, and even the plot is very similar and involves a kind of misunderstanding between both parties. The neat pull from Dan Slott there, game recognizes game. Later on, John writes the story about how the mole men, who stuck around in Smallville to learn more about the above-ground world, eventually agreed to return the lost people to their homes and even invited Steelworks to go to their underground world and secure peace with the surface. John publishes his first ever article, and later his parents contact him, congratulating him on his work. John tells him that being a reporter makes him feel closer to those he is trying to save and to his home. Lois welcomes John to the Daily Planet, but all John wants to know is how much he is going to get paid. John finally being on a path of stability is long overdue. It always felt like writers never really knew what to do with him. Even when he was like a kid, it was always the same story. He battles kid versions of villains that his parents or Damien's parents have fought. It was always the same sort of stuff. They never knew really what to do with him. And I like that this is finally deciding to do something with him, trying to give him a role, set him on a track. And I'm hoping that Dan Slott has cracked the code. The reporter in Smallville role feels right for him. As I said before, it's, connected to his roots. It allows him to see where his father grew up, get to experience that a little bit more. And yeah, it's kind of a cool route for him. Superman Unlimited issue 7 was a wonderful John Kent-centric issue that took him back to his roots in Smallville. I really enjoyed that Dan Slott gave John a life outside of the superhero community and is actively working at giving him a life that is equal parts Clark and Lois, as well as something that is entirely his own. I'm really hoping that this is something that will stick around, being that many writers have tried to give John something outside of being a superhero, outside of being Superman, and none have really stuck around. So I'm hoping that what Dan Slott does here, and then obviously this will lead up into Reign of the Superboys, is something that can stick around. I'm going to give this issue an 8 out of 10.